Bo and Luke Duke could have driven an Audi S5 around Hazard County instead of a '69 Dodge Charger, Roscoe P. Coltrane and his fellow crooked sheriffs wouldn't have had a chance of catching the Duke boys. Of course, they would have had to come up with a different name for the car than the General Lee. Regardless of what you call it, the new Audi S5 and its Quattro all-wheel drive system provides such a traction advantage over rear-drive cars on low-friction surfaces that it's almost unfair. But you don't need a dirt road to feel the advantages of the S5's Quattro system. Any road will do.
The Quattro system in the S5 is rear biased to the tune of 60% drive to the rear axle and 40% drive to the front axle. Of course, that's in a perfect world at a constant cruise with no crosswinds or other forces affecting the car. The minute, though, that you turn the wheel, the system goes variable and starts varying the drive front to rear as it needs to. Speaking of turning the wheel, the electrically assisted power steering in the S5 has decent feel, but the upcoming Audi Drive Select, which is going to incorporate an active steering system, promises to improve things significantly.
Back to Quattro. The bottom line is that the system makes you look like a hero and allows you to get out of situations that would spell trouble in other cars. You'll feel as if you can walk on water with the S5. Or drive on water. Whatever, you know what I mean. Let's move on to that great sounding engine.
The direct injected 4.2 liter V8 makes 354 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. That's enough to move the S5 from 0 to 60 in just under 5 seconds. But curiously, it doesn't feel that fast. Credit a flat torque curve from that V8, as well as a stout chassis that is composed at all times, thanks in part to Audi's famous Quattro system.
So it doesn't feel as fast as it is, but the S5 will still annihilate the road ahead at a surprisingly quick rate. The V8 does its part with loads of character. Everything from the sound it makes to the immediate throttle response to the constant surge of power it delivers through the smooth shifting 6-speed manual gearbox will have you enjoying every single mile. On the braking front, the Quattro system comes into play once again. Most people only think of the traction advantages of all-wheel drive systems in terms of acceleration, but there's also a big advantage to Quattro when decelerating. Just as there is drive to both front and rear axles, there's also drag at both axles when you're off the throttle. In a rear drive car, a sudden lift off of the throttle will immediately upset the balance of the car as the drive is suddenly disrupted to the rear axle while the front axle is still freewheeling. In an all-wheel drive car, both axles go from drive to drag and the disruption is minimized, giving the car greater stability. So the car remains well balanced while you're on the very effective brakes.
The S5 is the first Audi to be based on the V8 chassis, as well as the first car to employ Audi's MLP, which stands for Modular Longitudinal Platform. Now, MLP essentially moves the front axle further forward, thereby improving the car's front to rear weight distributions by something in the order of 5 to 6% according to Audi. This helps immensely to rid the car of the nose-heavy handling that has afflicted past Audis.
This results in a car that is more responsive to your inputs. You can even adjust the S5's cornering attitude by rotating the car into the corner, and that's something that hasn't been on Audi's handling menu in the past.
In fact, excluding the superhero R8, the S5 is by far the best handling production Audi. And yes, it's even better than the RS4, by a wide margin.
So maybe instead of the General Lee, we could call it the General Rommel. Now, if I could only find a sophisticated Teutonic Daisy Duke. I'm Emile Beret, OnCars.